talk about elections because that's what's on everybody's mind these days, and that could perhaps be the next trigger for the market. Rajdeep Sardesai, Editor-in-Chief at CNN IBN, joins us now. Rajdeep, hi, good morning, and thanks for being with us on the show. It's an important day for us because we have Adrian Mowat of JP Morgan, who's also joined in as guest editor with us, so he will be joining into the conversation. But before that, you've been speaking about a lot of the permutation and combinations with respect to different states, but I'm more interested with what's happening in Delhi, because we understand that the Sheila Dikshit government is facing a strong incumbency for the first time in 15 years.
Well, if you go by the CNN IBN The Week election tracker, which we've been doing through this week, focusing on the 4 states that are going to the polls, I think the trend which is emerging is clearly that there is a strong anti-incumbency against the central government. And nowhere is that more reflected than in Delhi, because in Delhi the Sheila Dikshit government in a sense is now suffering from a double whammy. It's a government which has been in power for 15 years, so there's an element of fatigue that has set in. Plus there is the fact that Delhi is also the national capital, so any anger against the centre gets magnified in the context of Delhi, and that's really why the numbers of Sheila Dikshit are so low at the moment. You can't rule her out because it is a 3-cornered fight and arithmetic will matter in the end. But at the moment it's clear there is a strong sense of dissatisfaction with the government in Delhi, and much of that has to do with this growing anti-incumbency against the central government. So I think, Delhi is in that sense reflective of a larger urban middle class anger that we seem to be seeing, particularly on the issues of price rise and corruption. And of course, in Delhi you're seeing this remarkable phenomenon of Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party, a party formed 1 year ago, but a party which is now gaining votes as a result of this voter anger.
Rajdeep, do you think this anti-incumbency is a particular urban issue, or do you see it with the rural voters as well?
I think that's an interesting point, because I think we've seen in general elections, Adrian, that Indian elections tend to be an aggregation of state elections. So you will have some states where there is strong anti-incumbency, Delhi being a good example. You'll have other states where perhaps the government has been is seen to be delivering on basic governance. And in those states you will not see the anti-incumbency to the same extent. Similarly, there are parts of rural India where we've seen in the past the anti-incumbency tends to be magnified more in urban areas than rural India. But it's difficult to make any broad generalization at this stage. The national election tracker, Adrian, that we last did in July clearly suggested that there was a general sense of dissatisfaction. Whether that will translate into voter anger, I think the anger is much more at the moment in urban India, but the desire for change, well, the urban-rural divide is not as sharp as it used to be. A lot of urban families have family in rural India. The media has spread right across the country. So the urban-rural divide is perhaps not as sharp today as it was 10, 20 years ago.
Well, Rajdeep, your pre-election surveys are very closely watched by the markets over the last 4 days, largely because people want to extrapolate for the May elections. Now, it is almost a 3 out of 4 for the BJP, but 2 of that 4 were perhaps expected. So how would you extrapolate? Would you say that it is the chances of the BJP have definitely increased in the May elections?
At the moment, the BJP could well win 4 out of 4. I wouldn't rule them out in Delhi as well. But the fact is, I think what a Prepoll survey really does is trend spotting. And the trend that is emerging clearly is in bipolar contests, and most of these states have bipolar contests, barring Delhi, between the Congress and the BJP. It's the BJP which is ahead of the Congress. Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh in particular. So you are seeing a momentum shift, and we've seen in general that Vidhan Sabha elections, if held 6 months before a general election, those states tend to vote similarly in the general elections as well. In terms of seats, it could be a bounce of about 15 seats in these 4 states alone for the BJP if these results were to hold 6 months from now. Now, we have to really, there are X factors in an Indian election, and despite what happens in these 4 states, I think the critical states will remain Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. I think these 5 states hold the key to the next general election. Remember in 2003, the BJP had swept three of these four states. 6 months later, they lost the general elections because they chose the wrong alliance in Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. So I would not extrapolate too much out of these polls beyond saying there is clearly a momentum against the Congress at the moment and slightly in favor of the BJP.
So Rajiv, what are you saying is that voters are not voting for a particular policy, they're just voting against the other person. Is that right?
I think no, it's a combination of two things. We are seeing in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh the incumbent government actually possibly being returned to power. So there is pro-incumbency where the incumbent government is seen to deliver on basic governance. Plus, Indian elections are turning presidential. People are comparing the chief ministerial options that they have, just as possibly in certain states they will compare prime ministerial options. Or that's the BJP's hope. The BJP wants to convert the general elections into a presidential style election between a Narendra Modi and a Rahul Gandhi. My sense is that the last 5 years, yes, there is voter anger. Whether this voter anger is uniform across the country is the bigger question. And I don't think we have a clear answer towards that. I still believe that in the bipolar contest, the Congress is suffering vis-a-vis the BJP. But where the contest gets triangular, where there are regional parties, even the Aam Aadmi Party, in a sense, the regional party of Delhi now, that's where the contest will get tougher. That's where it will get more competitive. And that's really what is going to be watched closely. And that's what we'll see in states like UP, Bihar, even in Maharashtra with the Raj Thackeray. Can he become a spoiler? I think you're going to see a more fragmented verdict once the contest becomes more competitive across the country. But clearly in bipolar contests, the BJP has the edge because the Congress is facing voter anger.
Okay. Finally, Rajdeep, I know it's very early in the day. We are still 7 months, 7.5 months away from the elections. But what kind of a combo will you bet on at this point? Is it a likely weaker UPA coalition, a weaker NDA coalition, or a third party? There was one psephologist who was calling for a Naveen Patnaik government supported by one of the biggies from outside. What's your percentage vote for these three possibilities?
You know, I don't play the markets and I always keep my money in my pocket. But the bottom, particularly with elections, particularly with Indian elections, where a week can be a long time in politics. But my sense is if this momentum holds over the next few months, I believe that the BJP will be well ahead of the Congress. And if the BJP or the NDA is able to cross 180, you will find political parties gravitating towards the largest alliance. I know there was this third front formation yesterday, or a seeming third front formation that was emerging.
Yeah.
But you know, really there are a lot of contradictions in that formation. You saw Mayawati was not on the stage, Lalu is not there. There are a lot of internal conflicts in a third front. And I actually believe that Narendra Modi stands to gain if he is able to contrast the gaggle of the third front with the kind of leadership he's offering. At the moment, it's advantage Modi. That's the sense I get. It's advantage Modi, it's advantage BJP. Whether they can take 170, 175 to 200 plus. To get a stable government, you need an alliance like in 2009, getting 200 plus. At the moment, I think the BJP NDA alliance is around 175, 180 is my guess. But the momentum is with them. And we've seen in Indian elections, both in 2004 and 9, once you get the momentum, you get 20, 25 extra seats from across the country. And then other regional parties gravitate towards you. So if I was a betting man, I wouldn't be surprised if in May, as of today, we had an NDA government with the likes of Mayawati, Jayalalitha, even a Mamta gravitating towards it, possibly a Jagan Reddy. But look, 6 months is a long time in politics, and you know, I would only give you a clear answer sometime in May, and even then I would have a lot of riders.
We'll touch base with you definitely many times before we. Thank you very much, Rajdeep, for joining us. Irrespective of who wins today, you have won the hearts of marketmen. I can tell you that, because the market is so much hoping and betting that it would be a BJP-led government for whatever it is worth.